So far, we have learned a lot of interesting things about Snowflake scripting, including block structure, variable declaration, variable assignment, and its detailed usage alongside errors and debugging pattern and interview questions. This chapter will focus on returning a value or an expression from a stored procedure or an anonymous block while working with Snowflake scripting. If you examine these two straightforward stored procs, one returns a variable while the other yields the outcome of an expression. In this video, we will go deeper to understand the various possibilities associated with the return keyword as well as its limitation. So stay tuned until the end of this video to gain a comprehensive understanding of return keyword in Snowflake scripting when developing or migrating stored procedure from your legacy systems. We have already covered many important concepts in this playlist. If you haven't seen these chapters yet, please watch it after completing this video. The links for all the videos are available in the description section. Alternatively, you can also visit my Medium blog page to find the sample SQL script used in all other videos and links for each chapter along with the summary. This tutorial primarily will concentrate on returning a value from stored procs and anonymous blocks. It will cover support for SQL data type, how to return a result set in the form of a table, including its limitations. So, welcome back to my channel Data Engineering Simplified. I will be using the free trial enterprise edition of Snowflake on AWS for this video. You can test all the SQL script used in this tutorial in free trial edition. Refer to the description below for details or downloadable content. For optimal video clarity, ensure that you are watching this video in its highest resolution, which is 4K. If you wish, you can also speed up playback rate to 1.25x or 1.5x to learn faster. You can jump to a specific chapter. The chapter detail is available in the description below, or move your cursor to the chapter marking in the video bar. For discussing specific SQL challenges, design issues, or architectural pattern, or any other feedback or a new topic request, you can connect with me in two simple ways. Send a direct message on my Instagram or join my exclusive Facebook group. To join the Facebook group, simply scan the QR code shown on the screen. And yes, if you are a dedicated Snowflake professional looking to enhance your skill in more structured manner, explore my premium Udemy courses to conquer your fear and level up your Snowflake expertise. So let's start. Returning a value from a function or a procedure call is a common practice supported by various programming languages, including Python, Java, and even shell scripting. However, each scripting or a programming language has its own restrictions or limitation with this keyword. Firstly, let's clarify whether the return keyword is a mandatory in a stored procedure or anonymous block and explore the associated rules before going into practical exercise using Snowsite Web UI. Let's begin by asking a question. A stored procedure must return something. If you look this simple stored proc written using Snowflake scripting, we notice it lacks a return keyword, yet it compiles and executes without any error in Snowflake. There are scenarios when a stored proc performs a task without an expected return value. In our demo, we will explore what value it returns when there is no return statement available in your stored proc or anonymous block. Now, you might be wondering, when a stored proc returns, does it have to be a value or can it also be an expression? A stored proc can give back either a fixed value or an expression. The expression gets evaluated at execution time and the resulting value is returned to the caller. It is important that the return data type aligns with the return's data type specification. We will explore what occurs if the return value does not match the stored proc's return specification and observe how Snowflake's execution engine attempts to implicit casting and the error messages in case if it fails to do so. For anonymous block, we don't have this challenge as anonymous block has no return data type specification. We will also see what kind of expressions the return keyword can accommodate. Let's talk about where we can place the return statement within begin and body while writing stored procedures. Like any other programming language, return keyword can be placed anywhere within the begin and body, and it can appear multiple times based on different scenarios or situations as shown in this example. While creating a stored proc using Snowflake scripting, it is possible to specify the not null return value. If you look into this example, the variable gross salary is declared in the declared body. The begin end body has no logic and it's not assigning any value to the gross salary. Hence, gross salary is initialized with null value at line number 103, and finally in line number 108 it is returned. Do you think this will behave as per the specification, and when we create this stored proc it will end with an error, or it will go through without any error? We would look into this scenario during our demo. Until now, we have observed that stored proc can give back SQL data type such as string, text, varchar, number, decimal, boolean, date, and more. Moreover, it can return a result set in the form of table, as illustrated here. We will also try various scenarios exploring implicit casting and aiming to understand Snowflake's scripting execution behavior. So let's jump to our Snow site and see all of them in action. And please remember to hit the like button if you have been benefiting from my content and if it is contributing value to your Snowflake learning journey. This is my Snow site web UI, and this is my first worksheet called no return statement. From line number 4 to line number 18, I am creating a stored procedures called myproc, which returns a number data type, and the language used to create this stored proc is Snowflake scripting. Now this is my stored procedure body, and if you look into this body, I have no return statement specified in this body. Let's create this proc. So my proc created successfully. Let's describe the stored proc. So if I look into this property returns, it returns number, and this is my body. If you look into the body, it does not have any return statement because we have not really added return statement while creating the stored proc. Now let's call the stored proc. So when there is no return statement available in your stored proc body, then it returns null. And if you look into this, the data type is fixed because that is what the data type we have specified in our return specification. Now the same body can be declared as anonymous block, and if I run this, so this is my result of anonymous block execution, and if I click on this result, this says text. So it has typecasted the return type to text and the value is null. Now if you are trying to execute the same anonymous block using SnowSQL CLI or through your legacy web UI, then as we have learned in our previous episode, to run the anonymous block through those two approaches, we need to use this keyword called execute immediate, and we have to enclose the executable body inside the $sign. So let me run this and show you the result. If you are creating stored procedure through your SnowSQL CLI or a legacy web UI, Snowflake expect the body has to be enclosed with $sign, and let's quickly try that out. So it is recreated, and if I describe this proc, here I do not see the $sign. Let's quickly run this. So I got the null value. If I try to go back to my query history, let's see how this creation looks like. The query history has the $sign, and that looks good to me. This is my second worksheet called return value and expression, and I am operating on the same stored procedure. But this time, if you look into the line number 20, I am returning a variable called taxable salary, and this taxable salary is being calculated on line number 17. On the line number 5, my data type for return value is same, number 10/2, and let me create this proc. Let's describe the proc first. So my return type is number, and if I go to this body, I am having this return statement, looks good. Let's execute this stored proc. So I got that 39.6K, and if I click on this, this is a fixed value as per this definition. Looks good. Now, instead of returning a variable, you can also return an expression. So instead of calculating the taxable income, I have put the formula directly here. And let's create this stored proc. And let me run this. So I got the same result, and the data type is also same. Now let's run the same logic using anonymous block and see how Snowflake infers the data type based on this expression. So this value is also a fixed value because these two variables are defined like a float. That's why the result of this is also float. So now this is how you can use the return keyword with a variable as well as through the expression. Now you may have a question, can I put SQL statement as an expression? And let's try that out. So I have modified the same stored procedure, and instead of returning the variable from here, I have given a hard-coded value which says select 10.22, and let me create this stored proc. It got created successfully. Let's call this proc. So I got the 10.22 which is matching here, and data type is also matching. Looks good. Now what if I try to fetch this result from a table? Let's see what happens. So I'm trying to fetch the maximum account balance from my customer table, and this table exists in our sample database. So let's create it. Let's describe it first. I can see the select statement as a part of my return keyword. Let's call the stored proc. I got 99.99. Now if I go back to my query activity, let's see how does it look like. If you look into the query activity, here is my stored proc call, and this is my select statement where the query ID is very different from the stored proc ID. So it is very clear that you can return a hard-coded value, you can return a variable, and you can also return an expression which can be a simple calculation, or you can run a select statement which returns a single scalar value from your select statement. Once these statements are executed or the expression is evaluated, the result will be returned to the caller. So we have understood that we can write a stored proc without having any return keyword. We can return a variable or an expression, and in this worksheet we will see how we can return multiple times from a stored proc based on different logic. So this is my same stored proc, and if you look into this block, line number 16 to 18, I have a if condition. If the taxable salary is less than 1000, then return 00, else return the taxable salary. So my proc is created successfully. So let's call this proc and see the result. So since my value is 120K, this is returning my 39.6K. And if I just change this value to 1200 and recreate the proc and call it again, I got the value 00, which is coming from this line. Technically, you can keep the return statement anywhere in your begin and end body. Let me show you. So I have copied this line. So my first statement itself is a return statement, and let me recreate it. It's created successfully. Now let me call it. So I got the result 1.23, which is coming from this line. So technically, you can have any number of return statements, and you can even have the first line as a return statement, even though there are executable blocks right after your return statement. Now this is my fourth worksheet called data type with return statement, and we are trying to understand the implicit casting when my return specification mismatches with my return type. So this is a stored proc where I have different kind of variables available with different data type, and first I am returning a value which is as per this specification. Let me create this. Now let me call this proc. So this is expected, this is text type. So I change this return specification to Boolean, and my return value is int, and let's see what happens. Since it is a positive value, Snowflake returned true as a result. So even though this value is 100, the value returned by stored proc is true. Now if I change with a date variable, it clearly says return declared return type boolean is incompatible with actual return type, and this is the error code 092225P4 zeros. Now instead of date, if I give time, let's see the error pattern. The error looks exactly same. Boolean is incompatible with actual return type time 9. If I give object variable, so error code is same and error message pattern is also same. If I go for a JSON, let's see how it looks like. Now here the error pattern is very different. It says uncaught exception of type expression error on line 13 at position 11. This is my line 13. It starts from here. So this is my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 and 13. And it says 13 at position 11 failed to cast variant value this to boolean. So here it did not say that it is incompatible. If I try to do for an array, so array cannot be compatible with a boolean, and this message is pretty clear. So that's how Snowflake behave when it finds your return value is very different from the return specification. If it can cast the value, it does casting, and the casting result may vary depending upon what is being casted to the specification. So make sure that you understand this behavior very clearly. Now let's try to understand how this not null specification works. And this is my new worksheet. So I'm going to create this stored proc, and my returns specification says data type, and it expects the value which is returned from this stored proc should not be null. So here I have created one additional variable called null value, and no default value is assigned. And if you look into the line number 16, it is returning this null value. Let me create this proc. Now first let me describe the procedure to see if not null is captured in the property or not. So the returns captures not null, which looks good. Now if I call this stored proc, I got the null value. However, the specification says it should not be null. So even if you specify not null here, this specification is not regarded, and when you call the stored proc, you eventually get the not null value. So make sure that when you are building a complex logic and you're expecting a not null value, don't rely on this specification. We have seen different scenarios where we return text value, number value, boolean value. Now in this worksheet, we are going to return a table from the result set. We are going to cover result set in our future chapter, but I would like to show how the return works with table data type. So if you look into the line number 4, here I have specified the keyword table, and then I have given the name of the field which this table would contain. And in the line number 8, I have defined a variable called text value, and it is storing the current role. And finally, I am trying to convert this text variable into a table function. Let's see if this works or not. So my procedure got created. Now let's first describe it. So the returns property says it should return a table, and this is my body, which looks good. Now let's call this procedure. So it says invalid identifier text var. So this is not applicable because you cannot pass a text variable to a table function. So for that, I need to make sure that this should be a result set data type. So now we change the name to my result of type result set and having a default value coming from this select statement. Now let me recreate this. No changes here. So even though I have specified my data type is a text, Snowflake has converted automatically to varchar. Let's call this. Now I got the table system admin. So what if I have to get additional information? Let me create this procedure. Let's check the specification. The table should have 3 fields. So this is how I got the result. What if I add the 4th field? Let's see what happens. So during the creation, it did not complain. Here specification says that I should get 3 values. However, the declare section is giving 4 different fields. Let's call this. Stored proc execution error. Data type of return table does not match expected return table type. Since it is expecting 3 fields and I am getting 4 fields here, due to this mismatch, it ended with an error. Whenever you get a message like this, it is very clear that you have to make sure number of column in your specification should match the number of column in your return type. What if I change the data type, and let's see what happens. Now this is a boolean type and this is a current time. Even though number of columns are matching, let's see what kind of error we get it. So I got the same error. It says data type of return table does not match expected return table type. So whether you have a data type mismatch or the number of column mismatch, in both the cases, you will receive same error, and that makes Snowflake scripting debugging little challenging. We have covered how to return a value, variable, expression, or a result set from both a stored procedure and from an anonymous block. Additionally, we simulated a variety of scenarios to reinforce our learning, understand Snowflake scripting engine behavior, and examine the type of messages thrown in case of errors. In the next chapter, we will discuss conditional logic that will cover if then and case statements. Be sure not to miss the upcoming chapter, which features a hands on tutorial that is crucial for understanding how to write efficient and effective Snowflake scripting. I hope you got something valuable from this video. If you did, please hit the like button. Your support not only recognizes the work behind this free content, but also helps others to discover this playlist. And if you think it can help someone else in your team, feel free to share. Thanks for watching, and let's spread the knowledge and growth together.